I too want to extend solidarity to the family and the former members of the Defence Forces who are currently parading, as they've specified, through the streets of Dublin and making their way towards this House. Members of the Defence Force and their representative organisations have consistently been sidelined in the public service. Pay negotiations are in fact excluded from trade union membership or affiliation to ICTU and are legally prevented from public demonstration or protest over terms and conditions, which is why they have to rely on their representative organisations to raise the issues, or their family members and former members to parade through this city. This government has taken full advantage of the fact that as the former Brigade General has said, the loyalty, and he has outlined that the bond between that has been broken between the members and the state is now broken. I have recently met with the representative organisations of the Defence Forces, and Minister, they confirmed to me that there is absolute chaos in the Defence Forces. The Defence Forces are hemorrhaging members, not just the long-serving ones, but also many of those who are new recruits, and this is causing extra pressure on the existing low morale, the foundation of which any Army, Navy or Air Corps has to have. The Government is well aware of this fact, has been made aware of it since the University of Limerick report in 2017 and before that. Recently, PD4 were forced to go to the High Court in order to vindicate the rights of the Defence Force members to the provisions of the Working Time Directive. They were forced to go to the European Committee on Social Rights to vindicate the right to collective bargaining over working terms and conditions. The fact that members of the Defence Forces have had to fight this government tooth and nail, both at home and in Europe, to have basic workers' rights vindicated is an absolute disgrace. What is even more disgraceful is the fact that the government has still not taken action to implement these court decisions. The Defence Forces are expected to lose another 700 members this year, many of them going to the private sector for better pay and working conditions. Minister, because the Defence Forces members are being unappreciated by this and the last government, this state now has to outsource many of the provisions and the work that was done by the Air Ambulance Service, for instance, and that's penny wise and pound foolish. Minister, I have a number of questions for you. One is, can you explain what is the delay with the Department's submission to the Public Service Pay Commission? Is there a dispute between the Department and the military authorities in relation to the content of that submission, which hasn't been made? Can you please explain to me when this government intends to give effect to the rights of the Defence Force members under the Working Time Directive? And finally, will you provide for the collective bargaining rights for Defence Force members?
Thank you, Deputy Minister.
Thanks, Councillor, and thanks, Deputy. The first thing I'll say to you is that the Minister genuinely engages regularly with the two representative bodies that you've just described and hears very, very loudly and clearly not only the concerns but in a lot of cases sometimes the objections that the members of the Defence Forces raise with us, and we take them very, very seriously, as we do take the pride in our Defence Forces very, very seriously. And so I'll say again what I said to Deputy Calleary. The Defence Forces are the bedrock which underpins the safety and the security of both society and our nation, and I can't emphasise that. That is evidently true, and that's why government have taken the significant actions in the last number of years. The improvements in pay under the Lansdowne Road Agreement, the further increases over the lifetime of the Public Services Stability Agreement from 2018 to 2020, the Pay Commission being tasked with providing a retention and a recruitment action plan to make sure that the concerns that have been raised by the people who remain in the Defence Forces are addressed, and also the recruitment to bring those numbers back up, which are depleted by 470, as Dara said earlier on, to make sure that we have a full complement of men and women who are providing the security and the safety both of the people in this country and abroad. I think it's testament to the fact that the Minister will be accepting the submission from the organisers of today's parade. We will look at it very, very carefully, and we will respond once the submission objectives or recommendations have been analysed. To say that there is a delay, so specifically answer the questions that you've asked. To say that there is a delay in the submission, there is no delay. The submission is currently being worked upon, and when it's finished, it will be presented to the body. I'll have to come back to you genuinely on the Working Time Directive, because I don't know and have a response on that for you. But what is absolutely fundamental here is that every single man, woman and child in this country has pride in the Defence Forces and the actions that they take both abroad and Ireland in protecting peace, security and the safety of Irish people on abroad. We have difficulties with regard to pay over the last number of years, but it's not, it's not without having good reasons. Every single public and civil servant in the country had their pay cut over a number of years because of the economic crash. It's thankful that we're in a position that we can unravel those cuts, that we're in a position to be able to bring forward new pay agreements and new stability agreements for the years going ahead. It's because of a recovering economy that we can do that. And it's because we value and want to retain the people in the Defence Forces that we put an action plan around retention and recruitment to make sure that we have our full capacity of numbers. Thanks, Councillor.
Deputy Snodaigh.
Yes, and I agree with you in relation to pride that the Irish society has in the Defence Forces. But this isn't just about pride. Pride doesn't put food on the table and put a roof over the heads of those young recruits who have to sleep in cars because they've been rostered on in barracks or on duties that's far from their homes, and then it's not feasible to drive home and then drive back again at the same time. Current recruitment levels will also not fill the vacancies. Thus, those vacancies are causing a huge increase in the workload of remaining members, meaning extra shifts, longer hours, not seeing their families, not enough hours between rosters, having to sleep in tents, as we saw in the rain in the Phoenix Park, when other emergency services were being appreciated and were able to go home or were accommodated in safe and secure accommodation. Why would anybody join the Defence Forces facing the prospect of having to sleep in a car outside the barracks? Why would you volunteer to go on overseas duties when you have to take suspect medication, which has left colleagues debilitated, where you can't afford a home or to be able to rent, despite the fact that you are providing one of the most dangerous jobs in this state? Why would you join to become a bomb disposal expert, for instance, when you could be faced with 120 hours on duty because the flood of soldiers leaving the force? I will reiterate again, why is there the delay? And there is a delay in terms of the submission to the Public Service Pay Commission. Will you look again at the supplementary pension to bring the Defence Forces into line with other public service workers? And will you assure the House and those who are parading outside that measures taken in the budget this year will appreciate properly, for once and for all, the Defence Force members?
Deputy Minister.
Deputy, you asked on a number of occasions why anybody would join the Defence Forces, and you've listed off a litany of things that you think are wrong. And yet people are joining the Defence Forces, both historically and currently. And the reason they're joining the Defence Forces, both historically and currently, is because they have a graw for public service, and they have a pride in the security that they provide for every man and woman who goes to bed at night time safe in this country. That's why people join the Defence Forces. The substantive action that we have taken over the last number of months, and will continue to take, and I'll reiterate it again in case I wasn't clear, is that we are benefiting in the Defence Forces from the increase in pay ranging from 6.2% to 7.4% of what was cut because of the economic crash in the last number of years. They are benefiting from the restoration of the FEMPI cuts of 5% to their allowances. Now, I wish to God none of those cuts had been made, as I'm sure every single person in this House does, but they were made. And they're now, financially, the country is in a position to be able to restore those pay and to look forward to a new stability process of pay agreements between 2018 and 2020. We are lucky as a country that we can actually recognise with pride the people in our Defence Forces and to be able to pay them effectively. It also extends to the government investing in capital equipment, platforms, including those that increase the forces' protection, such as armoured personnel carriers, and also to build infrastructure. 35 million worth of projects are at various stages, Count Corla, of implementation, ranging from a design to construction, and 14.2 million has been provided for the delivery of these infrastructural development projects between now and 2018.
Thank you.